I'm Cynthia James, and this network is about changing lives one woman at a time.
Hello and welcome to Women Awakening. I'm your host, Cynthia James, and I get the distinct honor of introducing you to change agents, women who have stepped into their independence, their power, their passion, and are showing us that there are possibilities and potentials that are available for every single one of us to be in a field where we experience joy and freedom. I love doing this because I feel like these women inspire me too. Every week, which is what I do these every week, I get to learn something new. I get to experience a new point of view and feed my own soul. So we're wherever you can get podcasts, Spotify, iTunes, iHeart, Spreaker, Amazon, and we're on YouTube and video. You just look for Women Awakening with Cynthia James and come back. You can also go to cynthiajames.net and see all the things I'm doing there and join my community. I have a private community where we chat and connect, and I have support for you. So today I'm really excited because we get to talk about fitness. I don't know about you all, but it's been a journey for me, this whole thing about how do I take care of myself. So today's guest is MK Stahl. She is a multi-local community manager for the franchise that is, hold on, my little screen went crazy. Okay, that is the Fit Body Boot Camp. And so she's a mom, she's a wife, and she's passionate about helping others live their best life on their own terms. She's an expert at balancing motherhood and business ownership. We will be discussing that. And MK prides herself on helping others move outside of their comfort zone at the gym and in the areas of their life. MK, welcome.
Thank you so much. What a wonderful introduction. I'm excited to be here with you.
I'm really grateful. I want to start with where you came from. A lot of times people look at successful people or especially women and think that we just sort of dropped into that space and everything was glorious. So how did you grow up? I mean, you probably were thinking you were going to be a fitness expert wherever you grew up.
No, definitely not. Gosh, the farthest thing from it too. I actually was kind of overweight when I was in middle school, and fitness was not a part of my life. I was never into sports. I liked cheerleading and dance, but I wasn't like very athletic. And so when I got into middle school, I noticed, okay, I'm not looking like my other friends. I hit puberty. I was very short. I still am short. I'm 5 foot tall. So there's nowhere for the weight to go. So when I was 12 years old, I was like, okay, what can I do to look like all my friends and take care of myself? I started running track and I wasn't fast at all, but I quickly realized, okay, this exercise, and I started eating a little bit healthier. The exercise paired with the eating healthy was helping me look and feel a certain way that I really, really liked. And so from a very young age, from middle school, 12 years old, I did realize, okay, taking care of yourself goes a long way. And I had positive influences in my life. My mother, she frequently went to the gym. My dad liked baseball, but nobody was into fitness. Like nobody was into really into fitness and athletics. They just dabbled in it. And it wasn't until I graduated from college that one of my good friends invited me to Fit Body Boot Camp. And I had never been to a boutique fitness studio like Fit Body before. I'd been to big box gyms and I was in running groups and all of that, but never like a boutique fitness studio. And the first day I showed up, I didn't know what to expect, but the coaches there were amazing. I mean, they knew you by name. They had the workout all mapped out for you. All you had to do was literally show up. And the hardest part about it was showing up. It was just getting out of bed and getting motivated to go. But once I was there, I just loved it. I fell in love with it. And it started to spill out into other areas of my life. And so that's kind of like a, a super fast version to where I got to boot camp. But long story short, I've really, from a young age, realized how important fitness was and how it made me feel so great. And I found that again when I was in my 20s at Fit Body Boot Camp.
Yeah, well, I love that. And I want to talk about how you became a multi-owner, but I actually want to talk first about the fact that so many women are challenged taking care of ourselves. We put others first, we'll get to the gym if we can, you know, um, we don't we don't want to do stuff for ourselves because we don't want to be considered selfish. So
Mm.
from your point of view, why is the commitment and the consistency to fitness so important?
Yeah, that's such a great point. And I have felt that way so many times as a mom. I have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. And as you can imagine, when you have children that are that age, when you are their primary caretaker, so they're your responsibility 24/7. And so to carve out time for yourself in a busy season of life, it can feel selfish at times. However, on the flip side, when you start taking care of yourself and you carve in that time, and it doesn't have to be a great amount of time, and you can start so small. And I always tell my clients, start with just 3 times a week, going to the gym for 30 minutes or getting outside and going for a walk for 30 minutes. When
Hmm.
you start making those strides, you realize that you show up as a different person, as a different mom. And it doesn't matter what stage of life that you're in. When you start taking care of yourself, it spills out into all the other roles that you have to play. So when I go to the gym in the morning and I have to stay home with my kiddos all day long, I have such a better positive attitude towards everything than if I didn't get that workout in, because I took that time for myself. I felt really great doing it. I felt so great afterwards, and I just had that mindset that I needed to do whatever was going to come my way that day. And so I think many women, it's like we're so scared to take that time away from our family, that time away from our work, or whatever it is in your life. But once you start making the strides and you start noticing the difference, it's easier to get out of that work. Taking time for yourself is selfish, or I shouldn't, feeling guilty about taking that time away from your family. Those feelings, those thoughts, and that dialogue that you're telling yourself starts to go away. It starts to fade because you realize how powerful it is to take that time for yourself.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I will just tell, with transparency here that I would go in and out of that mindset until I had an adrenal issue.
Mm,
And I was forced to change my lifestyle. And so exercise and food and spiritual practice became non-negotiables for me. And I feel like one of the things you're offering is to invite women into the understanding that their health and well-being is a non-negotiable.
right. Yes,
Right.
definitely. Definitely.
So, okay, so you enter at 25 into Fit Body Boot Camp, and you're working in a real estate. S- s-
Yes.
So tell me, what was it in you that wanted to get a franchise and on your own, and did you know what to do?
Oh, no, I did not know what to do. I'll answer that question up front. So just went to boot camp as a client, started working out there very regularly for a few months. And one day I came home to my husband and I said, we were newlyweds. We just bought a house. We were in that like beginning stage of adulthood too, where we were trying to figure everything out. I was in my second job out of college, and it was a good job, but I wasn't feeling fulfilled. And I knew that there was something else that I was meant to do. I just didn't know what. And so I started looking at the coaches that were coaching me at the gym and thinking to myself, okay, well, maybe I want to be a coach. Maybe I'll get my personal training certification. This would be a great atmosphere to work in. And so I started looking at it from that perspective at first. And then I started doing my research on the Fit Body Bootcamp franchise. And I'm like, you know what? If these people can do this and they can open up a gym and coach other people and make this positive impact in other people's lives, I feel like I can too. And so at the time, the franchise, the model that it had, and we very much still have this model today. It's just changed a lot with the growth that we've had. The model that we have, it makes it very easy for someone who does have a passion for fitness to have their own studio because of the low buy-in fee for the franchise agreement. And so at the time, we had the money, we had it saved, and we just went with it. And to answer your question, no, I didn't know what I was doing, but I had a passion for fitness, for health, for nutrition. I loved the way it made me feel. I was seeing the way it was impacting the other people in the sessions I was attending. And I just thought to myself, if I could get up every day and do something in this field and help other people, then I'll never feel like I'm working another day in my life. And I really don't. And so that's kind of how that all started.
Well, what I love about what you're saying is, first, I just want to give you an observation that as you're talking about it, there's light in your face. There's there's joy in your face. And I think to be in service to others and to do something that you love, it raises the frequency of the person.
Hmm.
So, I love that your husband was like, okay, let's expand here.
Yeah.
Um, but I want to talk about, because you've got multiple places now.
Yes. So the way it's the Fit Body Bootcamp franchise, just a little background on them. We're based out of California. Our headquarters is there, and we have over 240 locations nationwide, and we're rapidly growing right now. And each location is individually owned. So we have our own individual franchise locations. So we opened up our first location in Blacksburg, Virginia in 2017. And then we had another location in Roanoke, Virginia, which is where I live now. And then we opened up another location in Ashburn, Virginia. And right now we're trying to expand maybe down south. But there's the way the franchise is set up is we're a big franchise, but each location is individually owned, and you have that support from the headquarters when it comes to marketing, business coaching, training for your coaches and for your clients. You have all of that support through the headquarters. And so that's kind of how that works.
Well, that's really good. So
Yeah,
you don't have to become an entrepreneur and figure it out, as you're doing it.
right,
Right.
exactly.
So, okay. So I want to talk about how you and your honey manage these businesses in different locations, not just the same city, but different locations, and keep the vibrancy of your relationship.
That's very challenging and something that we obviously many people struggle with this when you're in business with your significant other. And we also are raising two small children together because where most people, they every morning they get up, they send their kids off to daycare or school, and then they go work their separate ways and separate jobs all day long. And then you reconvene in the evening. Well, my husband and I are together all the time. And that is a blessing and a curse because there are some days where I just want to be alone and do my thing, and he's right beside me. We're working together. And so it wasn't until about 3 years in to this journey together that we realized we cannot work on the same things. We have strengths and weaknesses individually, and we need to figure out how we can divide and conquer. Because in the beginning, it was like I was the one in the studio. I did not mention this. My husband is a physical therapist, and that's what he was doing at the time. And so he provides great knowledge and experience to this industry and to me not having that schooling. But we would butt heads because of that. Because here's what would happen: I would be working in the studio, I would see what was going on. I was there all day. He was working in his clinic all day. And then at the end of the evening, he would then critique me on things that he wasn't even there to see. And so I'm like, I can't have somebody over me, watching my every move. So it took a lot of just figuring out what I enjoyed doing. What did he enjoy doing? And today he just practices part-time with physical therapy, does this full-time with me. And we very much love working together because we've been able to establish those roles. But Yeah, to your other part of your question, how do we keep that vibrancy and how do we keep that spark going? It's regular date nights, it's really shutting our phones off, it's disconnecting, and it's intentional because
Mhm.
we can unintentionally get so wrapped up in technology and the messages and the emails and just the constant, being connected all the time in this industry can be very challenging.
Yeah, well, I love that. And for anybody who works with a significant other on any level, I hope you're paying attention here because getting clear about your roles and your strengths is extraordinarily important.
Oh, yes.
So I want to talk about health mindset. You know, I know that you probably witnessed this in your industry. January, all these people sign up. And then they start drifting by February and March, and they've paid money and they've invested in themselves, and yet something happens. What are you noticing?
Yeah. Most times when that happens, when they stop showing up, when they decide to throw in the towel, it's because they didn't give it their all in the beginning and they weren't able to build momentum. And in
Mm,
order to build momentum, you have to stay consistent with your routine. You have to show up. You have to put in the reps. And once you start doing that, you'll start to see results. And studies have shown that when people start to see the changes in themselves, it's easier to keep going. And so a lot of times what will happen is, and I'm so guilty of this too. I do this all the time. It's like over the weekend you overeat and maybe you have too many cocktails and come Sunday evening you say, okay, Monday I'm going to start over, and you create this crazy plan for yourself, like I'm going to track all my food, I'm going to hit this amount of protein, I'm going to work out every day. You go overboard with your plan, and then come Monday, come Tuesday, you start off strong, but then you're like, oh man, I can't stay consistent with this is so hard. And you're never able to build momentum because you're never able to make strides and see results. And so my advice for somebody that has happened to them is, first off, always start small. In January, when you want to kickstart your weight loss journey, do not try to join a new gym, do a new nutrition plan, cut out sugar, this crazy thing. Don't try to do that to yourself. Just do one thing at a time. And once you master that and you start to see results with it, then add the next thing. And as you build momentum, it's a snowball effect. It's going to continue to motivate you to show up for yourself. But I think that's just the number one thing is, well, I guess it's two things. It's people go overboard with their plan, they take on too much at once. And then the second is people are too quick to give up. So they never see any results. They don't build that momentum. So it's too hard to keep going.
100%, been there, done that, but the thing that's interesting to me is how those small daily habits become a way of life.
Mm,
And I think, I love what you were saying about, you know, so go to the gym 3 times a week and work out for 30 minutes or walk. When I was in therapy, my therapist told me to walk to get that energy out that I was carrying from the therapy. So
yeah.
so whatever way you want to do it, and coaches are important. And tell me, so the coaches that work in your facilities, what do they have to go through, and how do they match up with your values?
Yeah, that's a great question. So all of our coaches at Fit Body Boot Camp, they come from different backgrounds, but most of them have some sort of physical personal training or athletic training background or certification. So we have a partnership as a brand with the National Association of Sports Medicine, NASM. So most of
Mm-hmm.
our coaches are certified in that. And when it comes to exercise, we try to meet our clients where they're at. So, for example, if you come in, you're 50 years old, maybe you had a knee replacement, or maybe this is the first time you've worked out since having children 20 years ago, or some other extreme life circumstance has been thrown your way and you really need help with functional movement. our coaches are going to make sure that we're modifying our workouts and every single move that we do to fit your needs. We're not going to have Mrs. Jones is what we call our client avatar. We're not going to have Mrs. Jones doing a box jump when she hasn't even done a box step up or a squat in 20 years. So we're gonna make sure that we meet her where she's at, and we're going to help her create a plan for herself on how she can progress slowly towards that next level and towards that goal that she sets for herself. So that's one side of it. The second side is our coaches often find themselves feeling like they're therapists because you have clients come in and maybe those 30 to 45 minutes at the gym is the only time that they have to talk to someone else other than their coworkers or their significant other, or maybe it's the only time that they have to spend on themselves at all. And so our coaches are finding that a lot of times our members need that emotional support. They need someone to talk to, someone to vent to. They need someone to help them with nutritional support. So a lot of our coaches have some of them have therapy backgrounds, but then a lot of them also have nutrition coaching so that we can sit down with our clients and get to know them on more of a personal level and figure out what they're doing at home that can help them show up for themselves at the gym as well.
That's great. And I train coaches, and a couple of my coaches are in the health and
Oh,
wellness, and we work in emotional integration. I think it's all interrelated and
oh,
interconnected,
for
you know.
sure.
So, all right, so you're in Virginia. Do you work with people outside of Virginia?
I do, yes. So the majority of the team that I work with is in California.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So how do people find you, and how do they find out about Fit Body Boot Camp?
Yeah, so you can find me personally on social media at Mary Catherine Stahl, and then Fit Body Bootcamp. You just go to fitbodybootcamp.com and you can type in your zip code to figure out which boot camp is closest to you. And then also, if you're interested in franchise ownership, we also have a franchise ownership page. There's a tab at the bottom of the main website that you can click on.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, what I love about what you're talking about is that your energy, it feels like from the very beginning you felt supported. And I think whenever you start a new venture, whether it's working out or owning a franchise, to feel supported is essential.
Definitely, definitely. Yes.
Right. So I ask the same last question of every guest. This show is called Women Awakening. What do you think is the most important thing about women awakening on the planet at this time?
Mm, I would say to stop worrying about what everyone else is doing, comparing yourself to other people, and figure out what ignites you and what you are passionate about. Because we are living in a world where every single day, every moment of the day, whether it's intentional or not, we are surrounded by what everyone else's life looks like. And so some of us sometimes feel the need to match our life up with other people's, but it doesn't necessarily align with the vision for our life or our own personal goals. And so I would say, like, when it comes to your own personal awakening, it is realizing what's important to you and what you're willing to actually work for and making sure that you're living a life according to your values.
Couldn't have said it better. Thank you so much. And MK, I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad you're doing what you're doing and making a difference on the planet. It's an honor to know you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, ladies, I say the same thing every week in a different form. Now is your time. Now is the time to wake up, to become aware, to take care of yourself, to understand that your presence is important, that you matter. And so the healthier you are, the stronger you are, the more awake you are, the more aware you are, the more impact you have internally, but externally as well. I'm so grateful that I get to be here with you. I'm so grateful that I get to introduce you to fabulous women, and I'll see you next time. Much love.